In this episode of Getting to Know the TS27, I talk 24, my very first console, and sex versus beer. But first, the gameplay in the background is a little Titanfall for that ass. Hope you guys enjoy. And if you have a question for me that you want answered in the next episode of this series, leave it down in the comments section below. Now, let's get into your questions. First batter up is Lawrence Davis. What is your favorite season from 24 and who is your favorite character? Thanks to you, I discovered this amazing show as you mentioned it in a previous Getting to Know video. Well, I appreciate the fact that my fans are actually taking what I say seriously, because sometimes these Q&A videos, I do have some tongue-in-cheek answers. But I'm glad that some of you are getting something out of it. Now, as it pertains to 24, I started watching it during season number 3, and for those of you that don't know, there have been 8 seasons plus the Live Another Day that came out this past year after like a 4-year hiatus. So there's a bunch of seasons of 24, and I came in during season 3, but I went back and I watched seasons 1 and 2 and then continued through the series. And I'm an old school kind of 24 guy. I loved the first 2 seasons of 24. For me, those were the best seasons because there's just so many moments in those 2 seasons. There's so many scenes that stand out, and spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil some of the plots of some of these seasons for you, so I apologize in advance, but whatever, you'll get over it. So, in the first season, the very last scene of the entire season is amazing, where Jack Bauer's wife gets killed in the very last skirmish that they have in order to try and save the lives of the people. In season 2, the scene where Jack is calling his daughter on the phone when he's in the airplane, like memorable moments like that. The ending of season 2, where David Palmer, you know, it's just the biggest cliffhanger in 24 history, is they ended a season with the president seemingly being assassinated. Like, these are the scenes that you remember mostly. And even like some of the other like later on seasons, like for example in season 3 where Jack shoots Ryan Chappelle, very memorable moment in that season. And even in the most recent 24 kind of quote-unquote season when they march President Heller into Wembley Stadium, like those are the moments that make 24 really, really good. But in my opinion, the first 2 seasons are the best seasons of 24 because my favorite characters are the strong characters, and I believe that the first 2 seasons of 24, season 3 was also really good, and same with 4. And now a lot of people really, really like season 5, but for me, just the first episode where they kill off everybody is so fucking off-putting. Like, it seems to me that they were scrambling for ideas and they decided to incite excitement back into the series by just killing off most of the main characters. So that's why I like seasons 1 and 2 the best. And my favorite characters are the strong characters. I like David Palmer as the President of the United States much more than the other presidents in the series of 24. Not to knock like President Taylor, or I forget what the other guy's name was, Gregory Eitzon's character. I forget what his fucking name was, but those presidents to me just weren't as good. But my favorite character of all time is Tony Almeida, and I'll tell you why. He, to me, was like the best of both worlds. He was Jack Bauer badass, but also like really intelligent and smart in running things at the operation. And when he supposedly died in season 5 and then came back later as a villain in a later season, that to me was awesome because I could really relate to his character. You know, the reason why he turned against the government and the reason why I think Jack should have turned against the government was the government basically destroyed his entire life. I mean, any like semblance of family or any semblance of close friends or camaraderie was just completely destroyed by his job. And if I was in that position, I would have snapped too, and I would have gone against the government that was supposed to protect me and my interests, but ending up fucking me over in the end. So that's why I really like Tony's character. He's my favorite one of the entire series. Make 'em Quit, aka Mr. Cat and Cod, asks, will we ever get to see a jam sesh of your band? Actually, there's a few videos floating around on the internet of me and my band jamming out. For example, there's this one right here where it's both an original song and we're covering a Rise Against song at our CD release party. Here, Take a look. And then there's also some videos of us doing acoustic performances, kind of like at a more open mic type of setting like this.
I didn't mean to say those things that you mean every day.
Next question is from Keep It Trill. I saw one of my favorite bands, Seven Dust, playing in one of your videos. What's your favorite song by them? For me, my favorite song is also the first song that ever introduced me to Seven Dust, which is Denial. It was one of their singles from back in the days where nu metal was like the big up-and-coming thing, and I just thought that, like, the contrast of, like, the heavy music with the melodic and seemingly, I don't want to call them light because they weren't really light, you know, especially like during the verse part of that song, but like the chorus is extremely catchy for how light it is compared to the heavy guitars that is in the backdrop. Sven Everts, Schwantz, which metal band is your favorite? Avenged Sevenfold or Asking Alexandria? Well, neither of them is actually my favorite. Megadeth happens to be my favorite metal band, with Iced Earth being a close second. But if I had to pick between these two that you're asking me, I don't really like Asking Alexandria. They're not my type of metal music, so I'll go with Avenged Sevenfold, even though the singer, I don't know if it's M. Shadows, I can't ever keep track of the fucking stupid-ass names they give themselves, but he was much better before he ripped out his vocal cords doing screaming shit. So if you go back and listen to, like, the first couple of albums from Avenged Sevenfold, I think it was the albums that was before City of Evil, I think is the first album where they kind of changed their style a little bit, although City of Evil is still a pretty good album. But those first few albums are really spot on. Crossed876 owned asks, how do I feel on Ebola? Well, Ebola's a hell of a drug. No, I'm just fucking kidding. Ebola is a disease that is really ravaging companies that don't have a healthcare infrastructure and whose governments have been going, or enduring rather, years and decades of civil war. So that's why it's such a bad outbreak in Western Africa. Now, there have been cases of Ebola in the United States, and that's quite unfortunate. A lot of people are asking the president to have an embargo against travelers to and from West Africa. However, I pose you with this. America supposedly has the best doctors in the entire world. Why would we morally hold back these people that could most affect change in this area because some people are afraid of accidentally getting Ebola, even though these fucking people, the majority of them, would never come in contact with an Ebola patient in the state in which the disease is transmittable? I think that there's a lot of fear-mongering going on about Ebola. Ebola is extremely difficult to catch unless you are a healthcare provider. It takes a fuckload of courage to go into Western Africa or to go into the room of an Ebola patient and help them out. Are you guys fucking kidding me with the amount of disinformation that you're spreading around? It's fucking ridiculous. For me, Ebola is almost impossible to catch unless you're touching blood or feces or you're around sick people all the fucking time. The majority of Americans have nothing to fucking worry about, and it just pisses me off that this is another issue where fear just absolutely takes over and one party harps on the fucking fear. They love to incite the mob and they love to incite all of the propaganda, which is based on absolute bullshit. That's my feelings on Ebola. I think that we should continue to send people into Western Africa to go and help out, because we, as, you know, the moral high authority apparently in the world, we should be the ones that are confronting this disease head on. And I'm not afraid of catching Ebola because, like I said, I don't spend time with sick people. Nathan Sazolks, I think that's how I pronounce your name. I think you've asked me this question before, but fuck it, I'm going to answer it anyway. Do I play soccer, or do you support any soccer team in the MLS? I used to play soccer when I was younger. Then I quit the Boy Scouts in like elementary school, so that's around grade 3 or 4, to start playing soccer. And then I quit soccer in grade 7 to start playing football because in 7th grade, I was on the soccer team, and even though I thought that I was better than the players that were playing, I didn't get any playing time, and I clashed with the coach a lot, so it kind of turned me off from playing soccer altogether. And then I started to play football after that, because that was the other fall sport that was available in my district at that time, at that age. And I was really good at football, so I said, fuck it, I'm not going to play soccer anymore. But I did used to play intramurally at college. Me and my buddies would play pickup games of soccer, so I still played throughout college for most of the time. I don't play, obviously, anymore because I don't have the time to go do it, to be quite frank with you. Can't do 40-hour-a-week job at work, plus YouTube, plus do all the other things that I want to do in my life. It just, ain't nobody got time for that. And do I support any soccer team in the MLS? Not really. I don't really watch soccer. Soccer is not something that interests me, but if I had to pick a team, it would obviously be the New York Red Bulls. They have Thierry Henry. They have a lot of good players on this team, and they're doing pretty well for themselves the past few years. It's one of the only New York area teams that are actually consistent in doing very, very well. JSugar01 is taking us to the barber shop. Who do you think was better, Tiki or Rondé Barber? Well, being from New York, you always heard about Tiki Barber. He was the running back for the Giants during all of those really good years that the Giants had. He was a leader in the locker room. He was an all-star multiple times. And now he is like an analyst for the Giants, if you will, on like their Sunday morning and afternoon pre- and post-game shows or whatever. I didn't really hear too much about Rondé Barber since he was a cornerback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, they did win their Super Bowl with Rondé Barber as one of the players on their team, and he also was an all-star for multiple years. So, honestly, I can't really make a call here, especially because I have bias towards Tiki Barber since I know much more about him than Rondé, and I'm really not that into football, to be quite honest with you. So for me, this is kind of a toss-up. It would depend upon, you know, what you value most on your team. Do you want a good running back, or do you want to have a solid defense? Because to me, these guys are kind of on the same playing field. And he also asks a hypothetical situation here. So, you're in bed with the girl of your dreams, attractiveness-wise, and a horny gay guy. Who do you turn your back to? For me, this is easy. I definitely turn my back on the girl of my dreams, and here's why. I hate anything that has to do with my ass. If somebody even like looks at my ass the wrong way, I get very queasy and uncomfortable. I don't like people grabbing my ass. I especially don't like people going anywhere near the asshole. And my proctology exam, thank God I don't have to do it for another 10 years. I am dreading the fucking day that I have to go into that room. So, for me, it's very easy. The horny gay guy, if he's going to be fucking around with my ass, I'm not going to have any of it. I will gladly turn my back on the girl of my dreams, because honestly, ain't nothing going to happen with another gay dude in the room. I mean, come on, let's be serious here. If I'm going to have a threesome, it's only going to be with 2 other girls. It's not going to be with another dude. Joe Mode fires off the next question. What console did you start playing on? I recently got out my old PS2 and had a great time. My first ever console was the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember when I got it for Christmas one year after my parents repeatedly denied getting me and my brother a Super Nintendo. We ragged them about it for like, I think 2 years before we finally actually got one. So many great times on the Super Nintendo. To me, that is still my favorite console of all time. You've got Mario Kart, you got Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which, by the way, is my favorite Zelda game of all time. So many great games on the Nintendo. Super Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, all of just the list of games goes on and on and on. Then I graduated onto the Nintendo 64, which is where I first started playing games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark Zero was on the Xbox 360. And also Turok and, you know, some of the first-person shooter games like that. Doom, Duke Nukem 64, that South Park game that was kind of a first-person shooter on Nintendo 64 as well. So that's kind of how I evolved, if you will. Riley in HD asks, also, how could we play with you on the Xbox One? I don't know what the also refers to. I couldn't find like a previous question to this, but anyway, let's just roll with this one. How could you guys play with me on Xbox One? It's pretty simple. I have a link down in my description of all of my videos to my live stream. If you follow me on Twitch, you'll get notified whenever I go live via an email. Now, when I'm streaming, I will play with viewers from the stream. So all you have to do is send me a message, which will take a fucking eternity given Xbox One's amazing user interface, and then I'll get you into a game. Hopefully. Depending upon whether or not Xbox Live actually wants to fucking do its job that particular day. Now, me and my buddies talk over Skype because Xbox does not have the functionality to play through both speakers and headsets, so the only way I could record everybody's voices is if I talk over Skype. So I probably won't be interacting with you in the chat over Skype, but at least, you know, we could play together for the meantime. This is an email I got from John Fosnod. It says, hey Schwantz, you keep saying in your videos that you think MW2 is the best. I do think that MW2 is the best Call of Duty of all time. This person just got the game for 3 hours, and I honestly want to trade it in. Not sure what to do. What's the best weapon, best perks? I'm struggling to even get UAVs. I'm just really frustrated. I've been tubed by corner campers a lot, shit-scoped, and Harrier strikes are constantly killing me. So, you like MW2 a lot. Is it worth keeping? I want to know what the best class setup is, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, this totally depends. If you're playing on the PlayStation 3, Modern Warfare 2 is hot to fuck, and there's not really much I could do about that. If you're on the Xbox 360, Modern Warfare 2, here's the classes that I usually use. I usually use two different classes. I like the TAR-21 with the holographic sight or a silencer. That's my favorite assault rifle, and I like to use sit rep so that this way you could see all the little claymores and various beepity bops that all the campers are using. I like to use Stopping Power Pro so that this way it takes less bullets for me to kill somebody because there is no Juggernaut in this game. So Stopping Power is amazing. However, if you're struggling to get a UAV, maybe I'd slap on Hardline. This way it takes one less kill to get those particular kill streaks. And if Harriers are constantly killing you, then I would run Cold-Blooded because that will keep the Harrier strikes away from you as well. So that is in the red tier perk. I think that's the middle perk. For the first perk, I would choose Sleight of Hand on the TAR-21. It's got an extremely long reload time. But if you are okay with the reload time, then I'd choose Scavenger. And then for the third perk, I already said Sit Rep. So that's my setup for that. And then for my SMG, I would go UMP with a silencer. Now for this class, I would advocate Marathon Pro so that you could run around the map constantly with unlimited sprint, and then I would choose one of those other perks based on that particular thing. I would also run at least one class with Cold-Blooded and a Stinger so that you could shoot down any air support that goes on. And yes, tubing is a fucking huge problem on Modern Warfare 2. Quick scoping is not really as bad as people make it out to be, and I think it's just because the tubing is abso-fucking-lutely ridiculous. But that's what I would do for class setups. If you guys have suggestions for this person for Modern Warfare 2 class setups or strategies, then just, you know, put it down in the comment section. But for me, I kind of try and, you know, learn the maps, learn the rush routes where people are going, and also learn the places where people like to camp and try and counter them as well. I like to use C4s instead of Semtexes. I don't know why. For me, it just seems like it's easier to figure out where the C4 is going. Next, Super Tomcat. Where's Mark Rubin anyway? He hasn't tweeted for ages. Bruh. He's been fucking codnapped. Don't you know that shit? He's been codnapped from his own job of fixing his own game so that he can go and play his game so that he can go and fix it. That is fucking some Inception shit right there. And last but certainly not least, Luna Rims asks, would you rather give up sex or beer? Fam, this one's fucking easy. I'd rather give up beer. Beer, you need a lot, or at least in my case, a lot to get drunk, so it's expensive. I need at least a 12-pack of beer to get drunk. And it's not very healthy for you. You feel bloated, it's extra carbs, it's extra calories that you gotta work off. Plus, when you get drunk, you usually are hungry and want to go eat food, so that is also bad for you. Where sex, it is a definite form of exercise, or sexercise if you will, and it feels much better than any amount of drunk would ever be able to get you. So definitely giving up beer would not give up sex. Especially sex with myself, if you know what I mean. Anyways, that's all the questions I have for this time. If you got one for me for next time, make sure to leave it down in the comment section. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of getting to know the Schwantz27. And I'm out like 3 strikes in a baseball game. Until next time.